All right, we're back and we're doing it again. Once again, this time we're covering the 4A Desert Sky region, which is one of yours from Pinal County for the most part. And the two teams that you really cover in this region are who?
Actually, it's three teams.
Three teams.
Three teams. So I got Combs, new school out of Maricopa, and Desert Sunrise, and then Vista Grande.
Very cool. So, but we're going to cover all the teams, and then we're obviously going to break down it a little bit and see what we come up with.
Yeah, it'll be a very good one. You know,
I think, you know what, and as I look over this region, I kind of believe, just like what you just said, it's going to be a little tighter than I think maybe it was last year. And once again, for all those people who are tuning in for the first time, what we do is we look at Max Prep's rankings from last year, associate that with this season that's coming up to kind of see the rankings on where they were last year and whether or not we agree if they'll be the same, higher or lower, or whatever the case might be. But we do run off where they were ranked and how they compare to each other, which gives us pretty much a kind of generalized what they think the strength of schedule might be, and also what their record could be at the end of the year.
Yep. So we'll dive right into Arcadia. Arcadia is currently ranked 69th. They're going to open up their first two games are actually going to be on the road. So they're going to open up against St. Mary's, who's 53, at Walden Grove, who's 75. Then they'll be back home against Benjamin Franklin, who's 124, Coconino, who's 79. Then at Camelback, who's 76, against Desert Sunrise, which is the new school out of Maricopa, who's 195 right now. Mesquite at 109. And then after their bye, they will be at Combs, who's 66, at home against Vista Grande, who's 118, and then wrap up their season at Arizona College Prep, who's 65. And with that, Max Preps has them going a combined 7-3 on the year. So this one should be interesting, right here.
It'll be interesting, and also that they're about mid-strength. When you look at the strength of schedules for all the teams in the region, they come about mid-strength with everybody. Now, the one thing that I'm kind of liking, and I kind of did my little homework, even though it's not mine, and know it's one of your guys's, but what I was looking at is that they got the returning quarterback. They got their number one rusher and receiver both returning. Definitely a lot more air attack kind of concept from what I was seeing is what they played. The other part is they got 2 out of the 4 top tacklers returning back as well, which is definitely a good thing to see on the flip side of the ball on the defensive side.
Absolutely.
So, and as a whole thing kind of coming back, it looks like this is going to be a good foundation for a team to kind of build off of, which I'm kind of liking for Arcadia, especially when it comes to this region. But this region's definitely got a lot going on. So what do you think?
I think that 7-3 is somewhere I can see them at. I don't know necessarily higher or lower. I'll have to. There's going to be a couple of games in there. What's Vista Grande going to be looking like? They're ranked 118, but I think that they're a better program than what their ranking states. Desert Sunrise. What type of team are they going to be? But I think the biggest game on their schedule is going to be against Arizona College Prep. And then, you have a team coming down from 5A, moving back into 4A in Mesquite. And they had a down year last year, so you see them at 109. Could those be some games that will flip their schedule here and there? I'm not sure. I think those will be the big games overall. But 7-3, I think, is where I'll have them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of games kind of that are kind of in that are going to be exciting to kind of watch category with teams such as, for instance, Walden Grove. Once again, when you're looking at the rankings of what we're looking at from last year, Arcadia at 69, and I just want to kind of touch on some of these once again. You got Walden Grove at 75. You got Coconino at 79, Camelback 76, Combs 66, and then AZ College Prep at 65, like you're mentioning, which we're about to talk about. But those are the games right there, kind of really kind of net in there. And then you bring up another interesting fact with Mesquite at the 109, but being up at 5A, so dropping down can actually be an interesting thing, as well as the Desert Sunrise, because we don't know who they are.
We don't. I got to actually check them out. I'll wait till we get to their team, but we actually got to check them out last week.
Right.
At a 7-on-7 event. So, but let's move into.
And one more
go
thing
ahead.
I want to throw in there too. I mean, and we're going to get to this team here, and this is probably going to be a big one to talk about. Is like you had mentioned, Vista Grande.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish there was more stats for us to kind of stare at and actually understand more of who's coming back or whatnot. Unfortunately, they don't have their stats posted. But it's great to see. I mean, I've seen them out at a couple places, the U of A, so on and so on. So I've talked to that head coach, and I think they're going to be doing some interesting stuff. But this, sorry to pause you because
you're good.
This is going to be going for. This is a good little region to kind of hit base. And as you were just about to say, AZ College Prep, go ahead and drop that on us as well.
So, like we said, AZ College Prep's at 65. They're actually going to have their first game out in Nevada against Slam Academy. Of course, we don't have any info on them just being an out-of-state team. But then their next week got a tough opponent in Apache Junction at 55, at Estrella Foothills at 161, at the new 4A team Eastmark,
Right.
Who is 14, at Yuma Catholic, who's 49. At home against Vista Grande, who's 118. Then after their bye, they will travel to Combs, who's 66. Desert Sunrise at 195. Then they'll have a Thursday matchup against Mesquite at 109, and then finish up against Arcadia at 69. And so, give or take what we don't really know about the Nevada team, Max Preps kind of has them at about 6-3. Could be a 7-3, 6-4, depending on how that game goes there.
Right.
But I think it's a very tough schedule for Arizona College Prep, but I think they are one of the most complete teams that we've seen, as far as who they're bringing back. But definitely have a rough stretch of games there, especially against Eastmark, Apache Junction, Yuma Catholic. They're all high-profile teams.
Well, and what I'm kind of looking at and what I dug up is that I'm really digging on Jackson Castro returning with 2,156 yards passing last year. He's going to be throwing it once again to his number one weapon, which was Jake Basui. I might be Basat. Might be saying the name wrong. Sorry, I apologize, but I wanted to give you love. But he received over 1,000 yards there himself. So receiving, he's not only do you have your quarterback coming back, you have your number one wide receiver returning. The question on this for me on the offensive side is how's the running back game going to be, because they lost their top two running backs as seniors. They got the number 3 returning, which is Caleb Hayer. And then on the defensive side, once again, they got 2 of their top 4 tacklers coming back. So the defensive side hopefully won't skip a beat, but it looks like once again, I think the gray zone or the red zone here has got to make sure how our running game is going to be. But it's great to have an offensive weapon like your number one quarterback and a receiver coming back, that tandem coming back that have put up. I mean, they pretty much put up half the yards there alone.
And Combs was a team like that last year who had their quarterback, then their number one wide receiver as well. So it could definitely play out. Do you think that 6-4, 7-3 is somewhere you could see them, or would?
Let me get back here on here, and I mean, I think you're right. I mean, just like what they're kind of saying, Eastmark is definitely going to be a challenge. Yuma Catholic definitely a challenge. Apache Junction challenge. I'm interested to see how the Combs thing's working out, as we'll talk about them in just a moment. Once again, they got Mesquite on here, which is the Thursday game. So it's. The region play is going to be very interesting amongst a lot of these teams. But, I mean, I think, the question marks become, how are they going to compete with the Eastmark and all that other stuff on here? So, I mean, I might go with you here unless, the boat gets rocked. I'm probably going to say the same thing.
All right. No, that, like I said, I'm about 6-4, 7-3, somewhere around there. And
go Max
I
Prep
think,
right now. You're
absolutely. And I think, we could possibly see that very last game at the end of the year be a deciding factor depending on how the region play goes.
With this one.
But let's move on into Combs. Combs is currently ranked 66. They'll open up at home against Catalina Foothills at 92. Then they'll be traveling for a Thursday game at Eastmark, who's 14. They'll host Coolidge, who's at 136. At Maryvale, who's 198. They'll host Prescott, who's 47. Then they're at Mesquite, who's 109. And then after their bye, they'll be taking on Arizona College Prep and Arcadia back-to-back, who's 65 and 69. Then they're at Desert Sunrise, who's 195, and finish up at Vista Grande, who is 118. And Max Preps has them going 7-3. Would you agree with that one?
Actually, no. I think what I'm going to go here is I'm actually going to say they're probably going to do a little lower. And I apologize, Combe, but right now my question marks go to your quarterback's gone. Who's the one who's going to fill in that shoe? Could he be better? Absolutely, he could be better. So I could be way off. So don't kind of quote me or throw stones at me if you see me. But yeah, they've lost their quarterback. It looks like their number 3 rushing back, which was Chase Theobald, I think. Theobald,
yeah.
We'll go with that. He was also their number 2 receiver, and he was by all means he's their top tackler that's retrieving too. So what that tells me is there's a lot of question marks with Combs for me. They're going to put a lot on the shoulder of Chase here, but I'm hoping that the rest of the team will step up and kind of support him on this, and hopefully we'll be wrong, or I'll be wrong on my selection. Once again, These are your teams.
And no, so with Combs, I mean, they're a team that is very deep. I mean, one of the, when you see them on the sideline, they're a Eastmark type of team. They have so much depth,
right.
But like you said, they lost their 3 key positions on offense, which is their quarterback, their number 1 running back, and their number 1 wide receiver, all gone. Regarding Chase, it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be playing running back, because he also played a few snaps at quarterback last year. So we'll see where they end up putting him. But definitely a lot of question marks. I will agree with you. I don't think 7-3, especially playing in this region.
I'll still give them above 500.
Definitely. I'd say 5-5, 6-4, somewhere around there.
Absolutely.
But you know what? It's going to be a big learning curve for me to see what Combs brings back. Because like I said, a very deep team. Also have a very deep team on JV and their freshman team. Right. Hopefully that talent will carry over and they'll be able to prove us wrong on that one.
Either way, with Chase is 6'3" target. Either one way or another.
There we go.
It's a good thing to have on your team one way or another.
So let's move on into the new team out of Maricopa, which is Desert Sunrise, who's currently 195. They're going to be opening up at Glendale, who's 102. Then they'll be hosting Alhambra, who's 212. Then at Copper Canyon, who's 200. Against Flagstaff, who's 144. At Vista Grande, who's 118. At Arcadia, who's 69. Then they'll be hosting Eastmark. So you see a lot of these teams playing Eastmark this year. And then after their bye, they'll be at Arizona College Prep. Then they'll be home against Combs. Arizona College Prep 65. Combs is 66. And then they'll wrap up their season at Mesquite, who is 109. And so for them, Max Prep's got them going 2-8. And I actually
that's not going to happen.
You think
no
lower?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think what's going on is that Desert Sunrise comes in ranked at 195 just because they haven't had a season. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of question marks, obviously, to get filled out. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of these kind of games where I'm just saying I could see them easily probably like around a 500 team. Like 500
really?
team. I mean, once again, I think what you got to look at is Alhambra is probably an easy one for them. Copper Canyon should be there. Mm-hmm. I think where you get into it is where do they fall into that for instance, the Vista Grande, that kind of rank. So about mid.
Okay,
so
you're gonna
maybe
go
like with Combs, because I'm putting Combs in my mid section.
Okay, I'm actually going to have them maybe 1 or 2 games higher than what Max Preps has them.
Oh, okay.
So I will have them under 500, and the only reason is I think that there's tougher opponents in their region.
Yeah, that's true.
It's some of it's a very tough region if you take a look at it. And, and then you have that game against Eastmark. So they're playing, 5 teams that we have at least at 500, possibly higher. And then you got to take on an Eastmark team.
What?
So
I think
I'm
you're
gonna give
gonna,
them.
you're gonna convince me on something right here, and I'm gonna do some. I'm actually gonna say, I'm gonna change it. I'm not gonna give them the 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna probably go sub 5, and the reason why is because the team you're about to talk about, because you had mentioned earlier that they dropped down from 5A to 4A.
Correct.
I'm gonna have to put them to kind of upset some of these games in here, and so go ahead and.
So
shoot away.
so we got Mesquite, as you said, moved. They were up in the 5A region with Casa Grande last year,
Okay.
and so both teams kind of struggled in that region. I think you had Horizon, who was the defending 5A champions, and it was a very
Why would
big
you struggle there?
All right. So it was a very big jump for both programs. Mesquite ended up moving back down to 4A. So they will be hosting Mingus Union, who's 117. Then they're at Micah Mountain, who's 87. They'll be hosting Eastmark, who's 14. Then they're at Gilbert, who's 61. Maricopa, who's 149. Combs, who's 66. At Arcadia, who's 69. Then after their bye, they will be on the road for the next 2 games at Vista Grande, who's 118. And then a Thursday game at Arizona College Prep, who's 65. And then wrap up their season against Desert Sunrise, who's 195. And Max Preps has them going 3-7.
Oh, you know what? The one thing that I'm looking at here is that they do get returning quarterback PJ Jones. Didn't throw for that much. He was also a good scrambler for them. But once again, both low, but that could have also been the region that they were playing in.
Right, definitely.
So definitely could have gave him a little challenge there. So it's kind of like you're taking off a little bit of the restraints. So I'm really kind of seeing how he flux into this next year. So that could be good. They do get their returning running back, which is another plus, and Eric Rodriguez. So Jamar Trotter, who was also their number 2 wide receiver, is returning as well. The other thing that I'm seeing here with Mesquite is they got 3 of their top 4 tacklers returning back. So defense should be looking kind of good for them. So that's a plus as well. So I mean, it'll be definitely an interesting thing for them, and I think them coming back down into this, and that's why I had to change my thing on the last one, is I really think that you could run into some game changers just because they're playing down.
No, definitely. So you think, are they a 500 team, or are they above or below 500? I mean, it's tough to look at.
You know what? I'm giving them more than 500. They're 500.
Okay, I think possibly a 6-4. I'm gonna go a little bit
Okay,
higher.
okay.
I see games against like Mingus, Maricopa, and then you run into Desert Sunrise. I think those are 3 games that they'll already have locked in. And then how do they compete against Micah Mountain? Do they possibly have
Micah
a good?
Mountain's gonna be hard, but
Yeah, and Vista Grande is another one. It's the team we're gonna wrap up with here. But there's some games in there where they can flip some wins very easily.
Well, I mean, they have the second strongest strength of schedule coming into the region. AZ College Prep actually has the number 1. Arcadia has number 3. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. Obviously, with that going on. And the last one that you needed to hit up on, obviously, kind of
Vista Grande, Coach Roberts out there, they're coming off a very, very good season, actually the best season in school history.
Okay.
Went on the longest win streak in school history. So they've got a lot of pieces they're bringing back.
Nice.
It's a team that, I called them out last year on it. I wanted to see some consistency, and I was able to see that last year. Now it's, okay, can they make it to the playoffs and continue that that culture that they've built over there and make Vista Grande a winning program? And I really think that they can do that, especially having one of the easiest schedules in this region, or actually the easiest schedule in this region. So Vista Grande is at 118. They'll be opening up at Rio Rico, who's 164, at Pueblo, who's 126, and at Crisman, which is the new 3A team, at 193. Then so 3 road games to open up your season. Then they're home for the next 2 against Prescott, who's 47, against Desert Sunrise, who's 195. Then they're on the road at Arizona College Prep, who's 65, at Recon University, who's another team that dropped down, who's 209. After their bye, they will finish up their season at home against Mesquite, who's 109, at Arcadia, who's 69, and then they'll wrap up their last game against Combs at home, who's 66, and Max Preps has them going 5-5.
You know, like you had mentioned when you talked about the strength of schedule on this season, the one thing that I'm going to have to sit there and say is how will they do in region play?
Yes,
that's going to be the big one with this schedule here. You look at it, it's like, okay, I see some of the other stuff. You're going to also obviously be a solid contender when you play against teams like Pueblo. That's going to be a good one. Mesquite's also going to be a close to there. But it's when you get into those other ones, like it's just the region.
Yes.
Because when you look at it, you look at the what the Max Preps is actually giving them is Rio Rico, Pueblo, Crisman, which is another one that we don't really know who they are. Crisman, Desert Sunrise, which is another team we don't really know who they are, and Rincon. So a lot of the wins that they're giving to them are teams that aren't in their region. So when they get into or question marks.
Yeah.
So this could go really good or go really bad depending on how they hold up. Once again, I have seen them around and so on. I do like them. I think they're going to be great. I really wish there was some kind of stats, so we could actually kind of look at who they have and kind of give those kids some shout outs and actually support due to like some of the information that's going on. Unfortunately, hey coach, do me a favor, post up them stats. I'd appreciate it. Same thing. I mean, Desert Sunrise actually doesn't have any stats because they're a new team. But the guys, stats are so important to help us out to kind of put this out and try to impact things the way that we would like to impact them. But yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting division or region. That I mean, the division itself is huge.
So I'm going to ask you.
Go ahead.
Who are you going to give the edge to for this region?
Who could take the region? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, you're going to do this to me, huh? Thought we were friends. You know what? I'm going to go with AZ College Prep. Give me AZ College Prep to take the region.
Okay. So
what? Wait. No, you don't get off like that. You don't get off that easy. Go ahead. Give me something here.
All right. So you got AZ College Prep. That was going to be one of my top ones. So I'll give you a different one. I'm actually going to go with Vista Grande.
Okay.
Just because like I said, there's a team I've watched for quite a while. I know they're on the brink of doing something great. And so it's just the pieces they have returning is the big thing for me. And because on offense and defense, they've got a lot of pieces that I really like. If I gave you my second team, it would be Arcadia.
I think what's really going to hurt Vista Grande here, right, is the teams that I'm looking at that are the strength of schedules that are pulling them down is what's going to impact them the most. It's not that they're not going to have I think Vista Grande is going to have a great record. I just don't think the strength of schedule is going to reflect what they need to get up into the rankings where they need. No, there's a good chance. I mean, obviously, but I mean, when you get into this game now, guys, it's strength of schedule. Who are you playing? And with games on here, and I mean, I'm shooting my own people in the feet here with Rincon, Rio Rico, stuff like that. Sometimes they're not really ranked as high as they are, and you're going to have to hope that they do really well. And the regions that we'll talk about with them.
And we've seen this, a couple years ago, we've seen the same thing with Casa Grande. You had to kind of explain that to me, like, hey, strength of schedule is a big part because. I would have thought Casa Grande being undefeated, they would have been ranked a little bit higher. And with the AIA, they were actually, I believe, one of the final teams in the top 16. So definitely going to be something to keep your eye on because Arcadia and Arizona College Prep and Arcadia definitely have the strength of schedule to be automatic bids if they somehow win the region as well. But it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun. And guess what? There's more that we need to talk about on a different show. And we're going to be covering we got 4A region. So this was the first one that we did. And looks like we'll be coming back to talk about another one. So we'll talk to you guys soon.